Do you know why women start over 90% of conflict in relationships with zero actual intention of resolving it? I know how that sounds, but before you dismiss it, I want you to do something. Think about the last 5 arguments in your home. Think about who started them. Think about whether they ended with a real resolution, a genuine change in behavior, a problem actually solved, or whether they just ran out of steam and got quietly buried until the next time. If you are being honest with yourself, the pattern is hard to ignore. This isn't a comfortable topic. I am a woman talking about women, and I want to be clear that I am not doing this to tear us down. I'm doing this because I believe women are capable of so much more than this pattern allows us to be. I'm doing this because the men in our lives are exhausted in a way that most of us are actively choosing not to see. And I'm doing this because a marriage that is constantly at war, even slow burn war, is not a marriage. It's an endurance contest. And nobody wins an endurance contest. So if you are tired of the cultural script that always casts the husband as the villain and the wife as the long-suffering hero, you are in exactly the right place. Here is the part you are not supposed to say out loud. Most of the time, it is women who start the fight. Not because men are monsters, not because women are powerless, but because we have been trained by culture, by our mothers, by 1,000 little scripts, to believe that raising hell is the way to get heard. The numbers are everywhere if you bother to look. In major surveys, women initiate about 55 to 60% of relationship conflicts. In diary studies, the number goes even higher. Before you try to explain it away, maybe it is just because we care more, or because men do not communicate. Let us get honest about what actually happens when the argument starts. Who brings up the problem? Who pushes the issue? Who keeps it going until somebody storms off or shuts down? And who gets to look like the victim in the aftermath? Here is what the research shows. When a woman calls out another woman's behavior, the room goes quiet. There is a reason for that. A female voice talking about female accountability lowers defensiveness by 1/3. That is 32% less pushback. Less eye-rolling, less of that knee-jerk, how dare you? That happens when a man says the same thing. That is not a small difference. It is the difference between a conversation that might change something and another round of blame shifting until everyone is too tired to care. So yes, I am the messenger. I am not here to shame you. I am here because I know exactly how the game is played, and I am tired of watching grown women use emotional smokescreens to dodge responsibility, while the men in their lives are left holding the bag. If you are feeling attacked, ask yourself why. If you are tempted to click away, ask yourself who benefits when you refuse to listen. Ladies, it is time to grow up. If you want truth, mutual respect, and real accountability from both sides, you have to stop hiding behind the script that says you are always the wounded party. Nobody wins an endurance contest. Not you, not him, not your kids. If you are tired of the same old story, subscribe. Leave a comment. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are ready for real change, join our exclusive community for women who are done making excuses and ready to do the work. Conflict in relationships rarely erupts over nothing. It follows patterns as predictable as the topics themselves. Men tend to initiate disputes over money, power, or control. These are territories where status is at stake. Women, on the other hand, are far more likely to bring up chores, emotional connection, or a lingering sense of being taken for granted. This is not just anecdotal. Surveys from the German Family Panel and U.S. longitudinal studies reveal that women start about 55 to 60% of arguments over household routines and emotional needs, while men take the lead only when finances or status enter the conversation. The split is not random. It reflects what each side values and where they feel most vulnerable. But the real escalation begins not with the topic, but with the moment accountability shifts. When a woman senses the focus turning from his shortcomings to hers, the body reacts as if under threat. This is not metaphorical. In controlled lab settings, women confronted with direct criticism show a measurable spike in amygdala activation, the brain's alarm system, and a surge of cortisol, the stress hormone. Heart rates climb, skin flushes, voices sharpen. The original issue dissolves, replaced by arguments over tone, past grievances, or the perceived cruelty of the challenge itself. This is the emotional smokescreen, a rapid involuntary response that diverts attention, puts the challenger on the defensive, and obscures the initial problem. A psychologist describes this as fight or feel bad. When accountability feels like danger, logical discussion collapses. Men, often wired to fix, shift into damage control, apologizing for delivery, softening their stance, retreating. The core issue is buried beneath emotional fallout, and the cycle repeats. The emotional smokescreen is not just a tactic, it is a physiological mechanism rooted in measurable brain and hormone responses that shapes the course of everyday conflict and determines which problems are ever truly addressed. Two main patterns emerge when women sidestep accountability in conflict: emotional fragility and offensive deflection. Emotional fragility shows up as tears, trembling, or a wounded tone, signals that shift focus from the argument to feelings of being wronged. Offensive deflection is the sharp turn, the instant counterattack, the sudden list of his old mistakes. These are not random reactions. They are learned responses, often shaped by childhood, where tears could dissolve trouble, or where anger was the only way to be heard. Attachment research draws a clear line. Women carrying shame or anxious attachment often turn criticism into retroactive accusation. The present dispute vanishes under a heap of past grievances. This is not emotional honesty. It is a shield. Sometimes it is even strategic. Defensive narcissism can look like rage or tears on cue, a way to flip the script and dodge real scrutiny. The pattern is familiar. As tension rises, the topic shifts, voices escalate, and the man is left apologizing for his tone, while the original issue slips away. Culture hands out these scripts. For women, fragility or offense. For men, silence. Ethnographic studies show men who challenge emotional escalation in their partners face social sanctions. They are mocked, told to let it go, or quietly pushed out. The cost is withdrawal, emotional shutdown, or burying themselves in work. This is not partnership. It is slow surrender. Shame, when left unchecked, breeds accusation. Cultural norms reinforce the cycle. Real accountability begins when both sides recognize these patterns and choose honesty over old defenses. Picture the man who's finally stopped arguing. He's not plotting revenge. He's not even angry anymore. He's just tired. He's the guy who once tried to talk, to fix, to fight for the relationship, but got met with tears, accusations, or a list of every mistake he's ever made. Now he's silent, checked out, and you wonder why he barely looks up from his phone. This isn't just one sad story. It's a pattern. When men are cornered by emotional smokescreens, when every honest conversation turns into a referendum on their tone, or a therapy session for your feelings, they don't become better partners. They become ghosts in their own homes. Here's what the research actually says. Stonewalling, when a partner shuts down, goes blank, or disappears behind that dead-eyed stare, doesn't just feel bad. It predicts divorce. Couples who fall into these cycles face a 45% higher risk of splitting up. The more he withdraws, the less likely anything gets fixed. The more you escalate, the more he vanishes. It's not mysterious. It's math. But there's a way out. Couples who get real help, actual therapy, not just venting to friends, see a 60% drop in stonewalling. Structured mediation boosts agreement rates by 1.39 times. You want a grown-up relationship? Stop making every argument about your hurt feelings. Sit in the discomfort. Listen when he tells you the truth. And if you don't know how, find someone trained to teach you. Ladies, if you're serious about truth, mutual respect, and real accountability from both sides, then stop treating conflict like an endurance contest. Nobody wins an endurance contest. If you're ready to break the cycle, subscribe, comment, and join the community for women who are done hiding from the hard work. Truth. Time. The emotional smokescreen isn't strength. It's an endurance contest. Nobody wins. The men in our lives are exhausted, not evil. Ladies, it's time to grow up. Real accountability on both sides is the only way out. Want more? Subscribe, comment, and join the conversation below.